out.
I love innovation, especially when it comes to alcohol. Today's guest is one of the world's premier experts on absinthe, the 140-proof controversial liquor. Environmental chemist Ted Breaux has spent the last decade obsessively studying absinthe. Banned in the U.S. in 1912, absinthe was believed to induce hallucinations, and only recently has the ban been overturned nationwide. Welcome, Ted.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you for being here. So why was it outlawed in the first place?
The story behind the banning of absinthe is one that is it's sordid, twisted, goes way back, well over 100 years, starts probably in the 1850s. And essentially, absinthe's popularity is what led to its demise.
Okay.
Absinthe became so popular that
Too much fun.
Too much fun. Too many enemies in the marketplace.
Ban the fun.
The wine industry hated it. The brandy makers hated it. It took them a lot of hokey science and smear campaigns. They allied themselves with a temperance league, which wanted to see all alcoholic beverages banned. And basically, they tried and tried and tried for years. At the time, though, it's interesting because we're talking about a day and age where we had great impressionist painters like Picasso and Degas and Van Gogh.
Were they drinking a lot of absinthe?
Well, they drank a lot of absinthe, but to them it's really interesting because back in France in those days, I mean, there was no such thing as an illicit substance. I mean, morphine, that was everywhere.
Opium?
Opium, laudanum, yeah, it was available. And these artists said, who are these people that are trying to ban?
It's your very inspiration.
The national drink, exactly. So absinthe became an icon of freedom.
So my question to you is, why do you do it? Why did you kind of catch fire for absinthe and you continue to make it your life's work?
Fast forward many years after the ban of absinthe, many years. I was working in an environmental research lab, and a colleague of mine mentioned absinthe in a passing comment. And being a native New Orleanian, I had seen the word absinthe. In fact, there's a bar still on Bourbon Street called the Old Absinthe House, famous place. Aleister Crowley wrote The Green Goddess while sitting in this bar waiting for a lady friend. And it was one of these words that I had seen many times, just never really processed it. And I asked him, I said, absinthe, I know I've seen that. What is this word? He says, you know that green liquor that made people crazy. Well, as a scientist, that something didn't work there. And it's like, wait a minute. And so it became an interest that turned into a hobby, that turned into a passion, maybe an obsession.
And I'm sure at some point you drank the stuff and you were like, this is a good time.
Well, I learned.
Come on now. Were you scared with all these stories that it's going to make you crazy when you first engaged in it? I mean, because I'll be honest, I'm scared to drink it because of all the taboos around it.
Well, I was skeptical. I was skeptical for the reason that what information I could find that talked about hallucinations it just didn't come from sources that I consider to be credible and solid. So that prompted me, as a scientist, to set out my own path.
Okay, so what differentiates absinthe from any other liquor?
Absinthe is a unique spirit distilled from whole herbs. Herbs that have a long history and tradition in European herbal medicine and in culinary arts.
There's an ingredient.
That one. Which one
Wormwood.
is that? Wormwood.
Wormwood.
Yes. Grand wormwood, the infamous Artemisia absinthium, so controversial. Yet in order to demonize absinthe, one has to pick out something about it that he can say is bad. And the enemies of absinthe picked out this herb because you find it in virtually nothing but absinthe.
How about, can people make this stuff at home? You know, like beer and wine, people do it at home. Is there like a DIY aspect to absinthe?
Well, beer and wine are a bit different. Absinthe is a distilled spirit. It's really not anything that one is going to make at home, not properly. Believe me, I've studied absinthe distillation for many years. It's not something you're going to pick up a book and do from a paragraph or two of information. Not to mention completely illegal to distill anything in the U.S. without a license. But it's a distilled spirit, and just like making wine, the basic process is easy, but it's the finer points and the details, and that's where the beauty of it lies.
So can you give me a quick demonstration on how to ingest absinthe?
I certainly can do that. In fact, I have some.
You have a very beautiful apparatus here.
what I have here
Can you talk about this equipment? And
I'll talk about it while I'm pouring an
bottles
absinthe.
Yeah.
This is actually an absinthe fountain.
Okay.
In this fountain, we put ice water. This is something that one would have found on the bar tops and the bistros of Paris. Yes, it's quite ornate. But the thing is, the whole ritual that surrounds absinthe, with the preparation of absinthe and the glassware and everything, it's all beautiful. The French were very enthralled with the ritual of absinthe preparation. And absinthe is as you can see that it has an interesting green color, and this color comes entirely from herbs.
And what does it smell like?
It has an interesting perfume.
Yeah, it's kind of licorice-like.
It does have a flavor that we call
fennel?
licorice. Actually, yes, anise,
Anise,
fennel, and grand wormwood, Artemisia
Look how delicate
absinthium.
this all is.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And so what would have happened back in the 1800s is someone would have requested a glass of absinthe. The
Yes.
barman would have poured it, a shot just in a glass,
Yes.
just like I just did. And then the patron would have come to the bar top with like a fountain and added ice water to his or her own
So some
liking.
people are going to want it pretty strong, and other people are going to want to water it down a little bit.
Exactly, because absinthe is a concentrated spirit. It's a spirit distilled from a great concentration of whole herbs. And I distill this absinthe in 130-year-old absinthe stills that are sitting in a distillery that's been there since 1834. The distillery that made absinthe 100 years ago, and we use that very same equipment to produce this absinthe
So
today.
tell me why I should not be afraid to drink absinthe. Because my first exposure to absinthe was when I was in Prague, and a gentleman, it wasn't even I didn't even ingest it, but the gentleman that was ingesting it near me literally lost his mind.
Well, I would no more go to Prague to seek quality absinthe than I would go to Mongolia to seek a quality Merlot. It's just that the tradition of absinthe is in France and Switzerland. That's where it was made. And really, there's only about 10% of the absinthe available in the present market are accurate depictions of what absinthe was 100 years ago. And to get a more accurate depiction of what it is, I think you should definitely have a taste. And there's no straight razors around. You don't have to worry about cutting off your ear or anything like that.
Woo! That is a kick to it. That is a kick. Woo! Well, thanks for stopping by, Ted. I really, really appreciated learning all the history and learning what you do.
Oh, it's my pleasure.